This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
It even had the Weaver lock, but we're not going back to the old school, not quite as old school as the Weaver lock. Today, we're talking about TLC 2010, which went down on December 19th, 2010 at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. This pay-per-view, I got to tell you, Arn, feels like it was about 5 years ago, not like it was 10 years ago. And my parents told me as a kid, oh, time goes faster as you get older. I'm starting to pick up on what they were putting down, Arn.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot longer ago than that for me, but this was a time when we're having one a month, sometimes two a month, I think, during this period, and it was just information overkill, overload. You know, when I go back and review the shows, I have to just really get in a quiet room and go back in my head to those times and try to figure out what was going on, because so much was going on at the time, and some was working and some wasn't.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Do you think that some of the specialness of pay-per-view has been lost over the years? I mean, on the one hand, I understand the need to feed the beast, this multi-billion-dollar corporation, you've got to keep cranking out content. And much like the NFL, you've got to have a game every week. Well, here in the WWE in 2010, you've got to have a pay-per-view every week. But I think because there's so many of them, unless it's a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam or a Royal Rumble, they just started to feel, I don't know, they had a bit of sameness. And that's from a fan perspective. Did it feel the same way from the inside?
Well, it's the sameness in the fact that when you look at the roster, even though the matches may change, it's still the same talent, button heads. And we discussed this before. In my mind, it is impossible to start an angle, build an angle, blow an angle off all in 3 weeks and start all over again.
Right.
You just can't do it and make those pay-per-views mean something and matter. It's just too much, way too much. We already have so much TV, and let's face it, a lot of Raws were better than some of the pay-per-views.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And this paper,
but I go back to the fact that for $9.98 or $9.99, you can get the network. And for the life of me, I can't understand why everybody didn't have that. It's $10. Other than there's the functionality of people like me that aren't mechanical whizzes that just couldn't figure out how to do it.
Well, let's talk about it. The show here itself has 11,500 fans in attendance. Meltzer says that's about 90% full based on the setup, and the crowd's pretty hot for most of the matches. Meltzer would even note in the Observer that the crowd was mostly young and heavily Hispanic. And we've talked a lot with Bruce Pritchard over the years about the importance of Texas and how these markets were unique. He even said famously that a lot of Texas towns, especially the towns that were predominantly Hispanic, were big walk-up towns. Was walk-up still a thing in 2010, or was that from a bygone era?
No, sir. Walk-up was excellent. It could depend on weather, bad weather. Usually you would think people would stay home. Nope. You could get a good walk-up. When it was bad, people couldn't go outside and do outdoor things. Oh, well, hey, WWE's in town. Let's go see that instead. Walk-ups were a very real thing in the fact that a lot of our fans are blue-collar folks that work real hard for their money, and they don't get paid till Friday.
Right.
Say the show's on Sunday. They would buy late or walk up, pay for their ticket then. I think it was still a something that you hoped for and pushed for, and sometimes you got a hell of a walk up.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.